Hey guys, Chris from Homestead Prepping. Today I'm going to do a video that I really didn't intend to make. It just kind of, what happened with it kind of led me to make it. So at the end of last hunting season, I had convinced myself that I was going to buy myself a new hunting rifle. And the reason for that was not because I disliked what I had. It was because my wife has fallen in love with a gun that I shoot or have shot for many, many years. And that gun came from her brother, and it only made sense to me to relinquish that rifle to her. It's her favorite gun. She hunts with it every time. She and I hunt together a lot. So I thought it was fitting that I get myself a new rifle. And I did a lot of study, and I ended up with the Savage 110 Apex Hunter. I love it. I hadn't had any problems with the quality or anything like that. But I will go over the rifle and tell you a couple of things that you should look out for if you decide to choose one of these. And we're going to go shoot it a couple times. I have hunted with it. I have shot a deer with it. There were some one little quality control thing that we'll go over, and that has led me to this video. So hang around and we'll go through this thing and see what we got going on. All right, the Savage 110 Apex Hunter in Veil camo. So this is kind of a blackish, grayish, all kinds of phantom camo-ish stuff. I kind of dig it, and I thought it was cool. So this thing comes with all sorts of different options. It comes with a couple of different options on the butt pad, so you can lengthen or shorten it. I liked what it came with out of the box, so I left it alone. This particular combo came with a Vortex Crossfire 2 scope on it, so I've left it, and you know, I kind of dig it. One thing for me on bolt action rifles is the action. Okay, I've had a couple of different rifles, some Remington rifles and a couple of others, that the action was really sloppy on, and it always turned me off to it. Not because of speed. I mean, I'm not out there trying to, you know, fire and rapid fire a bolt action rifle, but just how smooth the action is on the bolt is one thing that kind of got me with this rifle. So this particular one is chambered in a 30-06, which is my favorite round. I'm an old country boy. I've hunted with a lot of different things over the years. I've hunted with a 243, I've hunted with a 30-30, 270. But 30-06 has always been my favorite round, so I tracked one down in a 30-06. This has a 20-inch fluted barrel. The flutes are nice and straight on it, unlike maybe the Ruger American where they're spiraled or something like that. The fluting is to help control the temperature of the barrel. It's supposed to help dissipate the heat a little bit faster. It does have a threaded barrel should I ever decide to run a suppressor on it. So all of the features were there, right? The weight, one last thing. It has a blade safety on the trigger. That's a new thing from Savage. So, you know, those things were everything that I was looking for in a rifle as I studied. I studied on rifles because I wanted to make a rifle choice that I was going to use and want to use for the rest of my life. I'm 48 years old. I don't want to buy 10 rifles to deer hunt with. I'm a deer hunter. You know, maybe hogs, coyotes, other things like that, but I'm a deer hunter. I don't plan on going and doing a bunch of other crazy stuff. So the other thing, so this one is a magazine fed, gun's clear, by the way, if y'all hadn't noticed. 4-round magazine. I feel in time that the magazine will get a little bit better. You have to really give it a good press to get it locked in there once you load it, but after that it's just fine. This one does have a 3-position safety. Okay, so you're all the way forward, tank safety, all the way forward is fire, all the way back is 100% safe. You cannot run the action and you cannot pull the trigger. In the mid section, the 2nd position, you can run the bolt but you cannot pull the trigger. So that's what the 3-position safety is all about. The Vortex, well, Vortex is just Vortex. Maybe not the greatest, but definitely not the worst. I really like the optic that's on here. It's nice and clear. It's easy to acquire your sight picture when you pull it up. I've had some other scopes in the past that man, when you pull it up, you're fighting with your head trying to find it. So that's pretty much the rifle. It came with sling mounting points and all that stuff. Very clean. I'm not sure what the weight on this thing is. I'll try to look that up and put it down in the maybe on the screen here somewhere. But yeah, I like it. I've enjoyed it. I've shot it a bunch, but let me get into why I'm making this video. All right, this whole rig right here across the top of this thing is the whole reason I'm making this video. Primarily because it's my fault. So one of the first things I always do with a rifle, with all my kids' guns and everything I've ever done rifle wise, is I've always taken scope mounts off and Loctite them down, Loctite them on the rail and all that stuff. I've never had a rifle that I did not find that the rail itself was in a good working order when you got it, locked down tight and all that kind of stuff. So I never checked this one. Shame on me. You should always check all of this stuff, especially when it comes to your optic, because when you're out there in the field making a shot, that's what's going to count. So like I said, I did sight this gun. I have shot a deer with this gun. Yesterday, I was getting this gun out of the truck to wipe it off. I was getting ready to go for an afternoon hunt out to our hunt lease, and I grabbed this gun right here. And these two screws on the rail were loose. I mean, like I could have slid probably a credit card under there. That's how loose they were. I cannot imagine how in the world I've missed that as much as I've handled this rifle. But that is indeed what happened. So this morning, about 2 or 3 hours ago, I took all of this back apart. I left the rings on the scope. I marked the rail to where we were, and then I removed the rail. I put blue Loctite in the 2 screws in the front, the 2 screws in the back, which I removed these screws by hand. It was a Torx bit. I can't remember what size it was, but anyway, I removed them by hand, blue Loctite, put them back in, and they've been drying for several hours now. I intend on going on an afternoon hunt today, so I want to go out here and shoot this thing. If this gun is not good, I'll take another gun, but this is just going to be a quick test because I really don't have time to set everything up. But we do have some plates that are about 90 to 100 yards set up down here. We'll go over here and take a look at that, and I'll show it to you. I do have a small plate down there. I think it's 7 by 12. So I'm not setting up a table or anything like that. I am going to stretch out a blanket, and I'm going to lay prone and take a couple of shots and see where she's at. And we'll just kind of go from there. So I'm up here on the back side of our dam at our pond down behind our little farmhouses we've got here. And if you'll look right there through the gap in the trees right there, there's 2 plates down there where we do a lot of pistol shooting, but we've cleared that section of woods right there so that we could shoot from this dam, sight our rifles in, and do different things like that. So a couple of things I want to go over here. I have ranged this at one time or another, and when we bring a table out here set up, we can get almost right at 100 yards. I'm not going to quite be at 100 yards, I'm going to be a little bit shy of that, which I think that's all right. I did not move my rings. I'm not sold on any of this, so don't think I'm an idiot for saying any of this. I'm being very hopeful, but I didn't move my rings. The rings stayed attached to the scope. I marked my rail. The rail seems to sit on the rifle in a very, very firm general position, whether the screws were tightened down or not. So I'm kind of hopeful that maybe just taking everything straight off, straight back down, that I may be at a very, very minor adjustment, or maybe at no adjustment at all. So I got a couple things. I got a blanket. I'm going to shoot from a prone position. I am probably going to round up a rock because I didn't bring my shooting bags, so that I can rest the rifle on. I've got my eyes and I've got ears. I'm going to be shooting a Remington Core-Lock 165 grain. That's what I sighted this rifle with. I've never been fancy on my rounds. I've always shot a Core-Lock ever since I was a little kid. I've never had really any problems. So I don't get excited about I've got to shoot the most expensive, most fanciest round out there. So that's what we're working with. I'm fixing to get all set up, and I am going to turn this camera around and see how well I can get those plates into view. I don't have another camera I can set up down there, so we'll see what we get up, and hopefully this won't be bad and I can hunt with this rifle this afternoon. So I've got a little work to do. Obviously you can see the plates fairly well, but if you look right there, that's a cow, and then right up there, that's a horse. So I need to get these guys run off a little bit. Of course, we are a true blue homestead. We have livestock and things like that out there. So I'm gonna go try to run those guys off so I can move on with this. All right, so I'm all set up, got cows and horses moved for the most part. I'm gonna be shooting at that small plate down there. I'm gonna load round by round. I'm not using the magazine. All right, so I'm loaded. I am going to see what we get. First round hit the plate. Sounded like the second round hit the plate. I think that one hit the plate. All right, so that was 3 rounds. All right, so I feel like that's successful, and I'll tell you why. I spent a lot of time sighting this rifle. I really didn't move the rings, anything on the scope or anything like that. So I felt like locking it back down was gonna do the trick. There's a lot of things that I'm about to show you of how real world this is. You know, I didn't use anything fancy. This could be exactly like the blanket because it rained this morning, but this could be exactly what you would end up doing out on a hunt somewhere. I grabbed a rock, I set my rifle up on it, I laid down prone, and I took aim, and I was hitting the target consistently at 100 yards. So I feel like it's all right. Am I gonna paper check this again? Yes, absolutely. But I feel good with where it's at, and it makes me feel better that I'm not gonna have to start over. So that's just kind of where the QC on this gun kind of ended up, and the whole reason I wanted to make this video. So, but anyhow, I'm gonna walk down there and take a look at the target. Of course, I've got to go through another gate into that other pasture, so it's gonna take a minute. Let me show you this setup that I had going on right here first. I mean, that's it. I was leaned up on that rock. I had the camera right there, videoing down through there, and that was it. Nothing fancy going on here, man. I picked that rock up amongst all these other rocks on the dam, and just used what I had and started shooting. And that was, I felt like was a pretty good result from that. So as I'm walking to go take a look at this plate, I want to talk to you about the importance of a rifle and why is a homesteader slash prepper doing videos on rifles. Well, so way back in the day, your grandparents, your great-grandparents and all that, they hunted for most of their food versus going to a store and buying it. So having a good rifle of good quality that you can depend on and that you can have for years and years and years, and possibly even hand down to your children to go out and hunt game and achieve groceries, so to speak, on your own is a big time deal. There was a time in our household that all of our red meat was deer meat. And when I say all of it, I mean all of it. My wife and I had 3 kids very early on, and man, I worked 2, 3 jobs and all kinds of stuff, and she did too. But being able to hunt and get our own food, we learned how to process meat. We learned all kinds of stuff. But it was a lifesaver in those times where we didn't have a lot of money to go to the grocery store and buy protein. So that is why we're talking about rifles. All right, we're getting close to these plates. So I hadn't shot that plate in a while, so these hits should be pretty fresh. Shooting like I was, I don't expect to see a really nice group, but we should be able to tell what hits were today. So we'll see what it looked like here in just a second. I'll turn this around. All right, so here's our plate. This is how big the plate is. I can tell for sure that I hit there, and it looks like probably here. And I did go back and listen to the video. I know I hit it 3 times. I'm not quite sure. I can't really tell. These look a little fresher. Maybe one of the boys was out here shooting this week or something and I didn't know. But anyhow, that is what it looks like. From where I was shooting from, I have a much better rest in most of the deer stands that I hunt in. So I'm not really concerned about it, but will I test on paper again? Absolutely, because this and this is a huge difference. But I still feel like with my aim, which was right around this area, that with one of those being that close, I feel like this gun is probably still about where I had it. I had a rest out here when we shot it on paper. Normally we put a paper target here and shoot at that. So anyhow, that's what it is. Let's go talk about the trigger and the importance of that trigger and how to get these rounds to be a little bit closer, especially from a rest. So the biggest reason that I want to talk about the trigger in this gun and in any gun is because the way that you pull the trigger is very, very important. You should practice dry firing a rifle, a pistol, anything like that, so that you will understand where that trigger breaks. Now let me explain to you what trigger break is. I'm not expecting for everybody that watches a homesteading type channel to understand the terminology of what it is, but when I mean a trigger break, so you're gonna pull the trigger to a certain point and it's gonna have a little bit of creep. And what I mean by creep is that it's gonna move a little bit and then it's gonna hit a wall and it's just gonna stop, okay? From that point, when you pull, that is when the trigger will break. When it breaks is when it activates the firing pin, hits the primer, and the round goes off. Different guns are different, so you need to be able to kind of predict what yours is going to do. So this particular one has a blade safety, and once again, guns clear, bolts open, no magazine. So you're gonna press that in. If you don't press that in over here, you can't pull that trigger back. It's not gonna go off. That is a safety, okay? So it has multiple safeties on the gun. You got the tang safety we talked about earlier, and then you got the blade safety. So, but what you're allowed to do is pull that in, and that's kind of your first indication that you're getting close. And then you got a little bit of creep, so let's go through the break. Gotta close the bolt for that. So you're gonna get a little bit, and then you got a little bit. I mean, just a little bit on this rifle, which I like because that makes it predictable. That allows for you to compensate for the creep with the blade safety. See how the blade safety stays back? So watch this. Watch the blade safety. Bam, goes back into battery. So anyhow, that's one of the biggest reasons. And you want to know how hard it is to pull that trigger. How many pounds of pressure does it take to pull that trigger? Because you don't want to jerk it. You want to just barely, and you see where my finger's at? You see what part of my finger's pulling at? I'm not in here like this. I'm not like this. I'm like that. That's where you want it, okay? So you can see, let me get this thing around where you can actually see it. So no real creep on it. And then bam, it just breaks. Man, it breaks. So I like it. It's not a super heavy pull, but most rifles are going to be much heavier than a pistol or something like that. Probably, oh gosh, if I had to say 6 to 8 pounds worth of pull. I don't know that for a fact. I don't have a trigger pull gauge or anything like that, so I'm just guessing. But anyhow, those are some of the reasons that you need to be really, really attentive to the trigger in whatever rifle that you buy. Practice with it, all that kind of stuff, to make sure that what you are doing is the right thing for you and that you're comfortable with it. All right, that's going to be about it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you're more interested in more of the homesteading aspect as far as growing your own food, raising your own livestock and things like that, we also run another channel called Tillman Family Farms. You can find a lot of that information over there. We do honeybees, we do big gardens, cows, horses, chickens, pigs, sheep. We do all kinds of stuff over there. But if you're more interested in how to preserve that lifestyle, protecting what's yours, your homestead, the way that we stock these foods and things like that that we grow, we're going to do that here. I would love to have a reason to do more videos like this. So if you like this content, please like and subscribe, and we will be back with more. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you on the next one.